It's great to have a financial budget. It's even better if you follow it. But if you don't monitor that budget and keep it up to date, it will stop being effective. You might think you're on track and everything's going well financially, but you might actually be overspending if you're not monitoring the budget. It's important to check to make sure you're staying within the limits for each category and that things aren't costing more than you thought each month, each week, maybe even each day. Well, it's no different for a time budget. It's great to have a time budget for the quarter, and it's even better to follow it. To know which projects you have time to accomplish is really important. So you've got to monitor that budget and keep it up to date. You want to know if the focused project hours you are using during the workday are accomplishing what they're supposed to. If you don't monitor this, you might end up missing deadlines. Or you might get near the end of the quarter and find out you are not going to finish all the projects you had planned or promised to do. So let's look at 4 actions that will help you monitor your quarterly time budget so you can stay on track and complete your projects on time. The first action is to monitor your project hours. So in other videos, we've talked about the importance of keeping a time tracker. Writing down in each time slot of your workday, what did you work on, how long did you work on it, and in which role does it fall. So that might look like from 8:30 to 10 o'clock, I worked on a financial report for my role as accountant. And then what did you do the rest of the day? So it's an itemized list of what you did throughout the day and how long each task took. This is invaluable for monitoring your time budget. It's also extremely helpful for collecting data so that you can accurately estimate future projects. But from the perspective of your quarterly time budget, this time tracker plays a very key role. You need to actually track the hours you spent on specific projects that are on your quarterly project list. And so what you're looking at is making sure that you intentionally spend the number of project hours each day that you decided were necessary to complete all the projects in the quarter. So maybe you decided you needed 2, 4, or 6 hours of project work each day. And you'll need to monitor that throughout the day so that you can keep your focus when other things try to distract you. If you can get those project hours out of the way first and then deal with all the little things, emails and calls and things like that, that can help you achieve this goal. Because if you fall behind, it means you'll either have to make up the time or you won't get through all your projects this quarter. Now, if you do fall behind one day, you should try to make it up before the end of the week. Because if you get behind in a week's total project hours, it's going to be really hard to catch up. It's kind of like a snowball effect. So let's say you're 2 hours behind this week and another 2 hours next week. Well, then that's 4 you have to make up, and it just goes downhill from there. So try to monitor that on a daily basis. If you said you were going to do 4 project hours, then try to get all 4 of them done every day so that you never have a deficit. The second action is to monitor project progress. So what are you going to do with all that information about how many hours you worked on each project? Well, you need to record it somewhere so that you can keep track of your progress in each project. So let's say you had a project on your list that you estimated would take 40 hours to complete. If you get 10 hours of work done on that project this week, you would record that beside the project, so you would know you have an estimated 30 hours left out of the 40. So keeping an eye on your project progress is going to help you check the accuracy of your time estimates. For example, if you had the 40-hour project and you worked 10 hours on it, but you only got 10% finished, then your time estimate is not accurate. You're not on track. If it's a 40-hour project, you should get 25% of it done in 10 hours because that would be 1/4 of the time. Well, it's better to find this out early so that you can make adjustments if necessary, instead of getting to the end and finding out this project took over the time that I was supposed to spend on another project. So you might need to drop some flexible projects that are lower on the priority list if you run into that problem. If something truly is going to take much longer than you thought, that's what you might have to do. Something that doesn't have a firm deadline might get dropped or deferred. But the next time you have a project like this, then you'll know, oh, it actually does take much more time than I originally thought, and that way you won't make that same mistake again. The third action is to do a weekly audit. So at the end of your week, it can be really helpful to do an audit of your quarterly time budget. Based on the number of project hours you plan to do each week, how much should you have accomplished by now? Let's say you planned for 20 hours of focused project work each week, and you're now at the end of week 3. 3 times 20, you should now have 60 hours of project work accomplished. So you can check, you can do this weekly audit to make sure that you have actually crossed off that amount of project hours. You'll use your time tracker data to see if you've reached that checkpoint. So by totaling up the number of hours you spent on various projects so far, you'll get that total and see if you're actually on track. Now, if you're not on track, are you going to be able to catch up next week? Or are you going to have to make some adjustments like we mentioned in the previous point? Maybe eliminating or deferring projects. The fourth action is to have a monthly checkup. Now this is very similar to the weekly audit, but instead of just looking at the last week, you're going to look at the past month to see if you're on track with your project hours. And let's say you had 20 hours a week set aside for projects. That means after a month you should have 80 hours done on your projects. So, are you ahead of schedule? Maybe you've done more than you thought you needed to do, and if so, congratulations. That means you could either take a day off or incorporate another project you really wanted to do. But it might be better just to keep that margin in case another project takes longer than you expect. You might want to wait till near the end of the quarter, and if everything's done, take a day or two off then. Now, the other scenario is, what if you are behind when you do your monthly checkup? Well, it's time for some adjustments. You could reduce the time you've allocated for certain projects, maybe condensing them, changing them a bit, or deferring some projects to the next quarter, or eliminating them altogether if they really don't make it to the high priority list. The important thing is to always monitor your quarterly time budget so you don't end up in a deficit. Just like a deficit in our financial budget causes stress, a deficit in our time budget causes emotional stress. We end up working too long and our relationships and our health suffers. So we want to avoid that scenario by monitoring our quarterly time budget. So we've looked at 4 actions that will help you monitor your quarterly time budget so you could stay on track and complete your projects on time. Monitor your project hours, monitor your project progress, do a weekly audit, and have a monthly checkup. So I have a question for you. Do you usually end a quarter feeling like you accomplished what you needed to? Feel free to comment below. Do you usually end a quarter feeling like you accomplished what you needed to? Be sure to get your free quarterly time budget by clicking the link below in the comments, and stay tuned for more series about time budgeting.